I love walking around my studio and watching my students' artwork come to life. There are so many layers required, it's fun to watch it emerge. I feel privileged to share this process with others. The therapeutic process of creation has gotten me through a lot. What I can't express in words, I can express in images, color, line, and form. I like this image for this year and this time of year, so close to All Hallows Eve and Samhain. A skull with flowers represents life and death, the beautiful and the ugly, and the struggle between good and evil. I've always been fascinated with the language of flowers and symbolism in art. Symbolism was actually an artistic movement and a literary movement, which you can read more about in theartstory.org. Symbolists combine religious mysticism, the perverse, the erotic, and the decadent. They were interested in the occult, the morbid, the dream world, melancholy, evil, and death. Usually flowers are my main subject matter, or they make an appearance somewhere in my work. They're filled with symbolism. They're part of our weddings, our funerals, and our everyday. The purple tulips in this image represent hope. And the rose, which took several layers, represents love, and I often use it to represent my sisters. The fiddleheads and daisies, I often incorporate them, and they symbolize my meme and my mom. The anemone is a symbol of death. But most significantly, it means anticipation. I use light pink for it here. The color red in an anemone usually means death. Bubbles are an image often depicted in art with a skeleton, and they symbolize the fragility of life. The branches, one of the last things I'll add to this piece, represent the interconnectedness of it all. So when you're looking at a painting, it may not just be a pretty scene. Artists often sneak in a little symbolism and always something of themselves that lives on after they're gone. One of my favorite places to view paintings is Monhegan Island, which is accessible by ferry from Port Clyde, New Harbor, and Booth Bay. The famous Artist Island, which is filled with so much history, art, artists, and haunted happenings, combines all my favorite things. T.M. Gray talks about it in her book, Ghosts of Maine. Treasure hunters have visited the island to search a cave said to have been filled with gold. There's also a female ghost on Monhegan known as the Watcher. She's said to be a blue-eyed blonde wearing a long, dark cloak, and she looks seaward. She's sometimes confused with another similarly blonde-haired ghost, the girl left behind on the Isle of Shoals by Edward Blackbeard. Burnt Head on Monhegan was the site of a suicide in 1947. An elderly lady who lived above a gift shop leapt into the ocean from a cliff on Burnt Head and drowned. Her ghost is thought to have pushed at least one person near the edge of the cliff, and cries for help have been heard. Another great place to view paintings is the Portland Museum of Art. They have a ghost in their 7-story Clapp Memorial Building. Mary Jane, in an apparent attempt to not be earthbound, had the original building burnt down upon her death in 1920. But people have still reported the sounds of a woman sobbing and seeing a woman wearing a long, old-fashioned dress. And now, as I finish up the last details in this piece, I'll leave you with a story done by ArtNet News about my favorite artist, Frida Kahlo, who was a Mexican surrealist artist and her art is laden with symbolism. She also loved to paint flowers and is said to have done so they will not die. She's also quoted as saying, "She hopes the exit is joyful and hopes never to return." Legend has it that while she was being cremated, she sat up from the heat and appeared to smile as her hair caught on fire, creating a corona of flames around her head. So I hope for her sake that she didn't return and that she's happy in her afterlife. A docent said Frida is rumored to wander the rooms of the Frida Kahlo Museum in Mexico City, which is the famous Casa Azul, the Blue House, which she shared with her husband, Mexican muralist Diego Rivera. Davis writes, she's rumored to wander the rooms of the museum. Curators like to say that sometimes Frida returns to her old home after dark. Her shape has been seen filling out corsets and skirts as if she's borrowing her old clothing for the night. Marlene Strange writes that the museum's director has heard labored footsteps coming from Frida's office and has witnessed supernatural phenomena such as the appearance of wet footprints. Other curators at other museums have had nothing to report except that her objects are very much charged with the essence of her persona, and that her presence would be very much welcome. Frida Kahlo loved to party. She loved her tequila, she loved to smoke, she loved to paint, she loved politics. And she loved her husband, whom she married twice. So they advise that if you do want to see her on the Day of the Dead, you should leave her some good tequila. So let's all raise a glass to art, the Day of the Dead, and Frida Kahlo. Thanks for watching and happy Halloween.